more impact. Right, so the big question right now, as I'm sure you're all aware of, is about traditional group medical insurance. And whether they answer the concerns of employees, number one, on more personalization, and number two, on holistic coverage that are usually not covered within the traditional kind of group medical. So this is actually affecting all three parties within this equation. Number one is the employee. So the employee are getting some, fixed kind of package from group medical, which is not personalized necessarily to their needs. And so because of that, there is a low utilization and a low satisfaction. So basically, they're not happy with it. From the employer perspective, the premium of group medical have gone up, significantly. This year in Hong Kong, on average, a 30% increase on group medical. It has gone up quite a lot. But at the same time, it is paired with a low satisfaction and a low utilization from the employee. So it is kind of a budget wastage from the employer point of view. And on top of that, it is not actually helping them to attract top talent, because if you're only giving them traditional kind of group medical that everybody else is offering, then you're not differentiating yourself and not attracting the best talent. And also the HR departments, when they are trying to actually look for innovative solutions in the market or launch some sort of out-of-the-box or flex benefit solutions, they need to think about launching a new solution, the technological hurdle, whether they have the resources internally, whether they need to set up a team, etc., etc. So in most cases, actually, they delay it or they just don't do it. But we know from Mercer, and I'm sure you're all familiar with Mercer, the broker, from their study in 2023, employees who get at least 10 or more benefits with their employer tend to stand much longer with their employers. Some quick statistics, I'm not going to bore you with too many statistics, but just a few of them. We see that around APAC, about 2/3 of employers have actually set flexible benefits as the number one HR priority. 4 out of 5 MNCs now have a strategy in place. It doesn't mean they have implemented it with the right solutions, but they do have the strategy and they know what they want to do. Even in Hong Kong, which is a traditionally more conservative market, we see now that over half of companies in Hong Kong are willing to leverage flexible benefits and well-being strategies to attract and retain talent. So when we look at this, attraction, engagement, development, retention, the employee journey, we see here that actually implementing a form of flex benefits can actually help the employee throughout his journey with the organization. First, during attraction. In Hong Kong, of course, the number one priority for candidates, you're not going to be surprised with this, but it's always compensation, right? Salary, bonuses, that's always going to be number one here. The number two is actually health and wellness benefits. And by offering some form of personalization here, you will be able to win the war on multi-generational talent. Well, as we know, Gen Y, Gen Z, younger candidates now are looking for much more personalization. They're looking for something that works for them. But maybe older employees over 40, maybe they are looking for maybe more health check, or maybe childcare, or maybe different sort of needs that they have according to their generation. So if you are able to offer personalized benefits, then you're offering something that works for everyone. During the engagement period, same. When we see that employees, they're looking for three things, right? They're looking for flexibility, they're looking for choice, and they're looking for well-being support. So if you offer personalization at this stage, what we see is what you're going to get more committed employees. They will be more engaged with the organization. They will be more committed. Commitment leads to loyalty. And when employees are more loyal, they tend to take less sick days, and that leads to more productivity. There are studies that have been done by Gallup here, referenced here on the slide, but as well as recently I was on a webinar with Aon, another broker, that showed that personalized health and wellness benefits and some form of flex actually leads to an increase in productivity over the long term. We need to think long term. And then at the end is retention. Flex benefits still rank within the top 5 of priorities for employees in Hong Kong, even before, or higher than learning and development or flexible work arrangement. During the pandemic, working from home was, very, very high on the list. But now, after the pandemic, actually health and wellness is higher than flexible working. And that will lead to, higher retention, so lower cost of recruitment. Obviously, if you have a churn rate that goes lower, then you will have less cost for onboarding. So very important to look at it from the entire journey, not just from one point of view only. So if you're gonna implement something, you may think, okay, fine, let's look at the different type of models that are available. We can, think of it as a spectrum, like a mental health spectrum, where you can be somewhere on the spectrum. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It doesn't have to be 0 or 1, or black or white. Of course, if we look at this, we are looking at traditional benefit models. You're familiar with these. They are chosen by the employer. So usually it's one size fits all. And as we talked about already, there's a limited satisfaction here. It's very employer-driven, but it's traditionally what's being offered mostly. Now, of course, if we look at the other extreme, we could go full flex. And we could put the employee in the driver's seat. And then they will choose whatever works for them. But then they will have access to a wider range, of course, of benefits that they can pick. But with this also comes high cost. There's cost from, for example, if people pick higher insurance coverage, then the risk cannot be spread through the entire employee population. So actually those go up. But also the high cost of managing and utilizing the system that are used for full flex benefit solutions. Like, for example, Darwin. If you know Darwin from Mercer, it's a very, very expensive system to run. So it's also not necessarily ideal for organization to go full flex. Where MixCare comes in is somewhere in between. You can think of us as a semi-flex benefit solution for employees. And we come on top, let's say, as a layer that can work on top of your existing coverage. So if you already have traditional benefits, then we can come and complement this. This is why MixCare has complements and optimizes your existing benefit solution with, I'm going to talk about this in the next slides, with a solution that comes somewhere in between the traditional and the full flex. A quick show of hand, how many of you here are actually exploring going some form of flex benefits? Yes, quite a few, I guess. That's why you're here, is to learn about it. Okay, so of course, when you're thinking about going some form of full flex, immediately I'm sure you're thinking cost, and you need to convince your management, you need to convince the C-suite of what is the ROI on this, and what is it going to be cost effective, etc. So we need to be careful here. Because when we think of ROI, it's a very short-term kind of focus. If we're looking at the ROI of wellness strategy, this has been very difficult to prove, actually. Even brokers agree with this. Aon just put out a series of studies showing that ROI on wellness is hard to prove. We can, of course, look at KPIs such as utilization of the program, or the number of sick leave people are taking, or a turnover rate, for example. And those are good things to look at. But those are very, they measure just operational efficiency. But beyond that, what you need to look at is really the intangible benefits that come as a consequence of implementing a benefit strategy. So it's everything else that comes with it. It's going to be the employee well-being, whether it's physical or mental well-being. And that will lead, as we talk about, to maybe more loyalty. That will lead to a better work-life balance. So they are more committed. And so presenteeism will go down. When people are at work, but not really productive, this will go down. And then the productivity will go up. The net promoter score, they will recommend your company as an employer to their friends or family members or other people, right? So in the end, all of this will improve the employer branding, the employer value. So these are things that are obviously harder to measure in the short term, but are no less important than the ROI. And this is the value on investment that measures organizational impact. So that's very important to have a long-term vision when you're thinking of flex benefits, not necessarily just looking at the cost of just a group insurance versus flex. So what is MixCare approach? So we have 7 pillars of health and wellness, and this is how we approach it. So as you see, mental health is very, very important nowadays. Fitness and diet, sleep and beauty, and then women's health as well. And then later on next year, we'll also financial health. And through the 4 P's of MixCare, personalized benefit, as we talked about. So we put the employee in the driver's seat as well by taking a proactive and preventive approach, so they can take care of themselves before it actually gets too late. So actually another consequence of this is that in the long term, the inpatient cost and hospitalization may go down. So we do this through a multi-touch approach. We are, of course, an online solution, and we are available through a desktop and through an app, but also offline. We also have on-site employee engagement programs that we do throughout the year. based also on the data that we collect with the solution. And so we know, for example, if you do pulse surveys, that if your employees are extremely stressed or if they suffer from gut health or different issues, we can organize this to keep them engaged throughout the year. So it's more than just a transactional platform. Also rewards and recognitions, so that you can recognize the effort of your employees, promotions, seniority, birthdays, etc., health challenges, different kinds of initiatives that we have on the platform as well, besides just health and wellness products and services. So this is what, maybe if you might, this is what it might look like for user experience. On the left here is the wellness marketplace of MixCare, where we have over 4,000 health and wellness services. So anything from health checkups to vision, dental, to probiotics, to mental care, to many, many different things, over 30 categories and subcategories that you can go. And by using a form of digital wellness wallet or flexible spending account that we call health points, this is why we're giving you 300 health points, so you can log in there and you can actually use it to purchase a health or wellness service. And as well, another service that we have, for those of you I know who are in a retail sector or logistics or maybe construction, we also have a medical pass, which is a sort of discounted outpatient care medical card with access to over 1,000 clinic and providers in Hong Kong. So even if you provide traditional medical insurance to your employees, but maybe you don't include dependents, they can also get outpatient care through our medical pass. And now we have tools, so you may think, okay, fine, so how long does it take to implement something like this and how much does it cost? So depending on what you're looking to achieve, depending on your company guidelines, on your budget, etc., I will just, so we can take this conversation later on in more detail, but just very quickly here, two types of implementation. On the left, you will see PwC, one of our biggest clients, over 5,000 staff we cover. Of course, they have very strict branding guidelines, etc. They wanted a completely white labeled, own brand solution with various proprietary features such as health tracking or different types of wallets and health stores. So we can build that for them. This is a more complex project that will take longer and more investment, but this is something we've undertaken and we can do. On the other hand, the more off-the-shelf or the more standardized solution you see on the right here from Hong Kong Broadband. So Catherine here is here from HKBN and we'll also talk about it and share with you. This is a solution that is co-branded, as you see, both with MixCare and HKBN logo, but it's much easier to roll out because it is following our brand guidelines and our layout, and we already have the store basically. Just some level of customization in it based on categories and products you want to see. But this is something we can do in under a month, and this is much more cost effective. Right, this is just a few words about MixCare. I guess now I'll give it back to
Thank you. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We are now ready for our panel discussion, which will be moderated by Ms. Micah Stanibach, CEO of Femtech Future Limited and former CEO of Visa Hong Kong and Macau. Joining us on the panel are esteemed speakers, Ms. Julia Quack, Regional Director from HKBN Asia Pacific. Ms. Catherine Chang, Chief Talent Officer from Hong Kong Broadband Network. And Mr. Alex Wong, CEO and co-founder of MixCare Health. After the panel discussion, we will have a Q&A session and we encourage you to ask questions. I will now hand it over to Micah.
Yes. Thank you so much, and it's so exciting to see so many of you here today. As mentioned, my name is Micah Stanibach. I used to be the CEO of Visa for Hong Kong and Macau, but I resigned last year to focus on supporting companies like MixCare, startups, as well as corporates, on how they can take better care of their women in the workplace. I will not speak too much about women's health today, but it is one of my pet peeves. I think we have spent a long time trying to get more women into the workplace, and the labor participation of women in the workplace is now very, very high. But as you will also know, a lot of policies in the workplace have been originally focused and put in place by men. So we need to rethink how we can support women on their life's journey, basically from the moment they start on their fertility journey, their pregnancy, and then as they grow older on menopause, but also on some of the other health conditions that disproportionately affect women. So I've been very excited to be able to work with Alex Wong and his team to bring a women's health stream onto the MixCare platform so that we can also particularly provide solutions for women. Alex, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit? We know already about your company, but tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. My name is Alex. I'm the founder, CEO of MixCare Health, a company founded in 2020, so it's during COVID time. My background was I used to work for HKBN, leading the digital partnerships. So I was the one to build the wellness and health ecosystem. So I got like a lot of challenges, like building this ecosystem for an insurance company. So I think as a independent, like a startup founders, it's more flexibility for us to help these enterprise to improve the employee engagement and holistic health. So that's one of our core mandate. Yeah, thank you.
Great. And obviously we heard a lot about MixCare, and thank you, Ben, for your very interesting presentation. But we also have Catherine here from Hong Kong Broadband Network. So can you introduce and tell us a little bit about your background?
Okay, so basically, from my career life, I have done nothing except HR and my first job as a personal assistant. So over 20 years in HR, never done any other things. So, HR, everything started from very junior and until now, I'm the Chief Talent Officer of HKBN. Of about the whole group is about 4,000 employees, about half 2,000 is in Hong Kong. So, day in, day out, HR management, budget, talent cost, premium increase now, year end. So we are worrying about, the loss ratio, the premium increase, how to get the senior management buy-in, everything. So whole life is like that.
So I think that's a challenge for a lot of people in the room. So we look forward to hearing from you how we should all tackle those challenges. But we also have Juliet here. Welcome.
Thank you. So apologies, because I've recovered from an influenza attack 2 weeks ago, but my voice has not been recovered because I was on the road presenting. So I sounded like Lady Gaga. I'm supposed to be daily so forgive me for that. So I'm Juliet. So for me, my background, predominantly, I'm in the employee benefit space. So I help a lot with multinational employer in formulating their employee benefit strategy and the structuring and also implementing in the Asia Pacific up here. So very much I see a lot of multinational employers getting very excited and every year, like what Catherine said about cost. I think the first thing is like, what can we do to contain costs out there? But I think there's more to do on that because the whole ecosystem is not only about costs. I think Dan talked about values are out there as well as engagement out there. I think in today's space, we're small into it, but today I'm hoping to share more with all of you. How can you actually bring flexible benefits into the playing of the field of the employee benefits out there? Thank you.
Thank you. So first of all, we also want this to be quite interactive. We have an amazing panel here today. A lot of people with different backgrounds, so don't be shy. Please all ask all the questions you always wanted to ask. I already received a few questions from you beforehand, but if you have any questions, please raise your hand and we can just tailor-make them for the audience today. So we're talking about retention and attraction of employees. So maybe I'll just kick it off to say, what are kind of the trends that we are seeing in today's working environment, particularly as it pertains to Hong Kong? And I know Ben already spoke about some of them, but maybe just from the field, Catherine, what are you kind of hearing from your employees or hearing from your colleagues in the market about what the key trends are or key challenges?
Key challenges. Okay, I think key challenges always the these big years. Labor cost is coming up, especially I'm in the IT industry. So basically it's really very competitive. So let's say if our employee leave, easily they can ask for a very big increase. So I guess for us, the retention is very much important, particularly on service industry, because we need the knowledge, we need to retain the talent. So I think this is one of the things. But unfortunately, because of the increase of the cost, that makes it very difficult, to maintain a very heavy, how should I say, the profit, because we need to balance the talent cost and then the margin. I think this is one of the things. And secondly is because, nowadays, I think it's not only IT, it's everywhere. So it's very difficult to retain the people only by paying them, because you will never satisfy everyone. So we have to think of some other things, on the retention, let's say staff engagement, the relationship, kind of benefits that they feel, it's interesting, or they think that it's good to them. Let's say during the COVID period, or let's say last year, people still looking for work from home. So if you have some employers, okay, our company will offer work from home, so it will be more welcome for those, younger talents, like 30, they're looking for more flexible, more work-life balance. So depends. But nowadays, money is not the only thing, I guess.
Yeah, interesting. And Juliet, what are you seeing?
For me, I work a lot with employers. I think I echo what Catherine mentioned here. But on top of that, I also observe that there are three top key priorities that employers are looking at. One is well-being, the other one is flexibility, and the last thing is technology. So how do you have these three top priorities being integrated into your business offering? So frequently, again, we talk about cost, but putting cost aside first. So I think well-being is where the mindset of the employees has been coming from, a tick check off, I used to have I have the protection of the life, the medical, even health insurance, but now they are looking more of it. So what kind of, out of the traditional costs that you are actually going to give me? So it can be medical checkup, it can be a marketplace, it can be pet care, it can be anything, because that is the broad thing out there. Then you talk about flexibility. So flexibility, you talk about giving choice, then let's talk about that. So why is this choice so important to employees? Because they felt that they will have to be empowered, to able to control their benefits. Right? So when they're able to control the benefits and pick what they want, then you will realize that they actually understand the benefits. Then that actually means that they appreciate the benefits that you have given to them, and they know how to utilize it. Because buying benefits out there, how often you hear from employers telling me, there are some is under, some is over, right? Because you can't fit everybody. And also in the current workplace, there's a lot of multi-generation, annual workforce, multicultural out there. So how do you actually address that? So it's no longer your checkbook, but a flexible benefit can kind of cater this kind of some of these challenges that is out there. And obviously, technology is another point. It's how do you deliver to your employees out there, right? So it depends on which industry you are. So some of you perhaps in a more of the servicing side, so perhaps they like the face-to-face, offline. Some of them, have the younger generation side. You might have offline, which is everything digital out there. So again, technology is one aspect of it, but as what Ben and Alex is saying, that you don't really need very complex one. A very simple sometimes can give you the touch point to your employees out there. So this is what we basically see in the market.
So if I just rephrase that a little bit, we're looking kind of for employees are looking for personalized and customized care. So basically, they want their employer, probably following COVID, to kind of continue the care that they received from the employer during COVID, which felt a little bit extra special because the circumstances were obviously a bit challenging. So I heard the other day a term called care washing, where I think a lot of employees are now looking at their employers and saying, well, we did online yoga, or we did bingo, or you gave me an additional health check during COVID, but are you really interested in taking care of my personal circumstances and my personal care as I continue kind of on my journey with you as an employer? So Alex, you obviously provide that personalized and customized care through the MixCare platform. But what are you feeling from the market in addition to this?
Well, first of all, I think a lot of things what they just said. I fully agree. We talked to more than 100 employers, I think, this year. So they always want to look for not just primary care, outpatient, patient. Now it's prevention, right? So when we talk about wellness, we talk about 4 kinds of wellness: social, physical, mental, and financial. So how do we have a small team, like 2-3 people managing CNB. How can I deliver all these kind of wellness? So that's how we can come in and provide more inclusive wellness, like from mental care and also not just physical but also social. Like how do you engage with your team through gamifications and rewards? And with the Gen AI advancement, I think in the future will be more not just personalized but relevance, right? How AI can help your staff to recommend them. Sometimes they might not know what I need, right? Because I'm young, but then based on the medical records or my life stages, we can recommend more relevant wellness program to the employees.
Yeah, so maybe on that note, I will immediately jump into a question I received, and I'll ask Catherine, because you actually implemented the flexible solution that MixCare provides, right? But how did you come to that decision to implement this? I think one of the questions from the audience was, like, how do you collect the data from your employees, maybe through an employee survey, or how do you actually find out what it is that your employees need?
Okay, so first of all, our case is a bad case. Everything is because of the cost. Because, when we, I guess it should be last year, so our loss ratio is very high. As a result, the traditional insurance company is asking for a big increase in the premium. So for us, 2,000 employees, with a very high increase in premium, that will cost us a lot. And particularly, I guess, as we are HR, all the senior management, the most part of it that they will think to cut firstly is about benefit, because they will think that is not so harmful. But to us as an HR, of course, we all know that because the benefits ties with staff retention, turnover, attrition, branding, a lot of things that being covered. So we're very struggled at that time. And then we dig into the insurance company to get, on all the statistics analysis. Okay, what happened to us? Which part will cost a lot of money, which part will cost less money. So we've made a very tough decision and painful decision is we cut a little bit of the benefit. Okay, if we cut all the, firstly, I noticed that because our company in general, IT companies, the generation is quite young. I noticed that some of the things really packaged, the traditional package of the insurance plan is underutilized. So that means some of it is actually we are wasting the premium. So, we take a very detailed look on that, and then we cut out those does not have a big impact to the group, and remain those very key and core thing. And then we have a little bit savings. Of course, as a whole January, we have a reduction on the basic traditional benefit. But because of that, we are thinking, is there anything that we could use a small pool of money and to give our employees some flexibility to pick some of the things that they like or they will use, because ours is very young. Maybe some of the things, let's say, dental, they really don't need so much, so we cut on that. And then, it's very lucky that, we have, find out kind of a semi-flexi benefits, because in my previous career in global company, we think of flexi benefits. Every time we done a lot of business case, but finally we give up because of the complexity of setting up the system, the portal, how to administrate, how to do the monitoring, the data, everything. So every time, we propose, but we fail and we cannot do that. So this one is really good. It's a semi thing. We can cut very quickly. And then one of the things is basically we can have a lot of understanding on the train. They want to take, just precaution. They take some supplement. Some actually we are looking for, some healthcare or medical check. whatever they just pick on it. And then we basically have set up a small comparative to the full size medical insurance plan is kind of semi. We take out a premium on that and then we invest on that. So the every employees they can just choose and pick. This is one thing. And then the other thing is the flexibility. The flexibility in a sense is we can put our own things. Okay, so basically, we can put our own deals. Let's say it's very particular for us, the healthcare or whatever. And then, we could give them some of kind of incentive or rewards that they could use. I think that is very, very good, at least to show them, okay, we have some personal care to offer you. You can just go and pick. We are very caring on your health and your personal wellness. So this is where we start from. And then one of the things is we choose that is ready. Actually, I don't need to administrate anything. As long as monthly we have a dashboard, we know how much that we are paid, what kind of activities or events, our talents have chosen. So we have understanding on that too. So basically, I guess, this is where we're coming from. Of course, it's not a very good one. The original thinking is not first from the wellness itself, but it's basically because of that we get into this platform.
Well, I think as I come back to the care washing, I think employees at the end of the day also want to see intent, right? So I'll come back to you in a bit to hear what your employees' feedback has been to date. But you mentioned a very valid point, that is also the regulatory and compliance infrastructure, right, around implementing this. We all know insurance is still a highly regulated product effectively. So maybe question to Juliet, how can insurers or how is your company kind of helping employers to navigate some of these challenges when they would be interested in implementing something new?
Well, I think the first place for maybe a lot of people get Hong Kong, it's the well-being part and some of the flexible benefits we're talking about here can be integrated into the insurance program, such as like your healthcare, your dental, your vision. But the financial costing of it will be high. Now, because these benefits, what I see is it's more of a utilization as of when the employees actually use it. It's very different from traditional kind of risk where you talk about projection, the incident rate going to the hospitalization, because of this medical diagnosis. So that's a separate kind of costing and pricing out there. So what insurance company typically do is to use to say that, okay, if the health checkup is being rolled out to 200 employees, I would assume that 90%, 100% actually will use it. We can price it to say like the cost of administrating it and put it out there. So with that kind of environment, this is very traditional. But then you see that now these days, the insurance company also moving on into providing such as like health talk, complementary health talk. Some of you might have it. Vaccine, out there, helping you to align some of the vaccine out there. So this is where the transformation comes about. Sorry, it's not my voice, right? No, I think that's the mic. Yeah. So this shows that the transformation has actually comes about from the traditional, way of a vendor putting it into the plan to a much more what we call a touch point, various touch point to the user at the end of the day. Now, but what I want to say is at the end of the day, how this whole integration comes in, it all depends on ultimately your utilization. Because whether it actually makes sense to put it into the insured program or to put it outside of the insured program. Because most of it, like what actually Catherine mentioned before. So earlier she talked about dental, which is actually being underutilized. It's not something that we want to put it in the insurance program. So with that saying that, so you should take it out and put it outside of it. But when you put it outside of it, if you just put a program like that, it might not actually drive the utilization and appreciation. So how actually you become creative in putting that? This is where the platforms, the technology actually comes back to the play of it. But putting in a platform is one thing, right? So you want something that is actually simple for employees to actually understand, right? Easy to navigate it out there. So which is why when Catherine, talk about putting on this particular program with MixCare Health, kind of like, simplify the journey out there. Because when you actually embark something like that, you want something that is simplified, not something that is complex to move on. So for insurance company, if you want to go on that kind of journey, they are not into that space because, to be honest, they know that this is the important part. So they are more playing on the part of the risk management part, on the data analytical part to actually support you on this part.
So, yeah, I think thank you so much. It's very interesting. And so maybe next question to Alex on this. So as part of, let's say, output, so what kind of data would employers get? And how are you seeing them utilizing those data to kind of manage, on the one hand, the ROI, but on the other hand, also kind of the expectations of the HR managers and of the senior management around employee engagement?
Well, in terms of the data, actually, traditionally, of course, you have like the claim data, but for the wellness side, definitely we can see the utilizations, like what kind of wellness services actually they consume. Top of my head, our top services like mainly like mental services, like stress management related services like massages and like products like massage guns. I mean, these kind of things are, you can tell people are very stressed, like they have a lot of back pains, like when they sit in the office. So you can tell you want to improve that kind of pain management during your work, right? So these type of data actually give HR more insight, not just like I'm sick or I'm not sick, right? But at the same time, you can see what they really care about. And in terms of we also organize like on-site vaccination, etc. And we also try to compare the number of sick days right after the vaccinations, because that's how you can see if this is especially last year we have a high flu season, a lot of flu season, right? A lot of people get sick with flu. So this kind of like vaccinations, they actually we can measure that and compare with these absentees, so to see the impact of these like the wellness services.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see that you're also recognizing the need for more mental health support, I think, for employees. I think following COVID, there is a lot of stress and mental health issues that need to be navigated, and also a service that traditionally isn't covered by insurance, or whether there is a lot of stigma and taboo about people actually going through therapy or for mental health support. So on that note, maybe Catherine, I can ask you, I'm sure previously you had kind of employee assistance programs in place as well, but from my time at Visa, I know the utilization was very, very low. So if you compare that to what you now have as a flexible benefit platform and kind of the engagement with the platform, have you seen kind of an increase, a decrease, kind of the same level of engagement, and are you seeing similar trends as Alex is seeing?
Okay, I think it's on different dimensions. So we have EAP program. I mean, traditionally, particular, Asian or Hong Kong people, our China office have the EAP program as well. But it's true that utilization is very low. Because, traditionally, Chinese still think that, okay, if I go to EAP, that means I got some problem. So they are very, they don't want to disclose that. So, until now it's very low. But in other dimensions, so basically today, EAP, instead of UAP, we are looking at mental balance. So it's more on the precaution or it's some, relaxation. So now to them, that's more easy. They can go, let's say, as some stress release workshop. The people is not feeling so or negative. I think it's more on precaution on wellness instead of something people still thinking on the mental or disorder thing. So I think that will be a much better approach than I can see more people will be utilizing that mental wellness thing instead of the EAP.
Juliette, from your perspective, are you kind of seeing similar issues in terms of kind of usage of platforms and feedback from employees? and what would be your recommendation?
Well, so it's interesting. We did a white paper. The similar outcome is like what Kathleen said. The EAP utilization is pretty low in Asian practice. It's still a taboo very much out here. But nonetheless, we felt that the claim, so we saw the claim in the portfolio of Asia Pacific has been increasing on mental. So with that, so it's actually resonating to say that awareness now, people begin to talk more about it, organizations are more supportive of it, and how to actually bring this, to the employee, to let them know that there is help and support and they care, for their the mental well-being out there. So as mental well-being is one part of that. There's financial, there's social, there's also emotional out there. So I think there's many different, aspects to take care of it. But I think, end of the day, I would like to say that in the organization, to build this culture out there, it's not easy. So you tend to have the management support. So the management will be able to provide. It's not only about benefits, it's about including things like leave, sabbatical leave. Are you able to give your employee the off time, to take sabbatical, out there? Are you able to support when you give your employee off time, to do, let's say, health checkup even out there? Because sometimes for some, company, when you want to do a health checkup, you need to take a day off out there. So there are things that actually is all embedded and interrelated out there, that how do you actually integrate it to make the whole ecosystem work on it. It's not only like just one program EAP or the well-being EAP, but you need to have a holistic of everything. So which is why, like Kathleen mentioned, earlier, that the whole EAP, that they bundle it, with the stress talk, with some of the yoga, with some of the marketplace out there. So this kind of like blended very well out there. So to launch something like that, so my recommendation would be looking at, you pick, like top 3 what you want to focus. Then how can you actually package it to bring it to value to your employee that actually appreciate that. But rather than just doing that, it's just one. I'm giving you one EAP. Okay, yeah, EAP, but nobody will call it. But you say, okay, I bundle it with EAP, with the marketplace, with the stress, with the yoga, with everything out there, the touch point. That's where the employee began to realize and appreciate that, oh, I have different touch point. Because different generation, different people needs. Like, I might not need EAP now, but I do need someone, I need someone to handle my stress. I might need a counselor, or I might just go for a yoga class like that. So I think this whole spectrum, when you look at it, keep your mind open, listen to your employee voices out there. How can you actually better package it out there and deliver it to your employee? That would be my advice.
Right. Okay, so I think we're out of time. So I just want to recap a few of the findings. So if I listen in between the lines, I think it's increasingly important for employers to think about, to support prevention, because the moment actually our employees get sick, they will have higher claims versus the insurance companies, or we need to make sure that we provide them with an infrastructure where they stay happy and healthy so that we can retain them in the organization and they feel that they are loved and taken care of. And actually making a personalized and customized solution for them gives both employers and employees the flexibility to use resources where they are best utilized. And those resources could either be financial resources, but it could also be physical resources. And actually using technology can also maybe solve some of the problems about making it accessible and affordable, but also maybe anonymizing it a little bit more for people so that they can cherry pick what they need. So I want to open it up to the floor. Are there any questions for the panels today?
Yes, thank you, Micah, Catherine, Julian, and Alex for your wonderful sharing. Yes, we are now going to the Q&A section. Please raise your hand and our staff will assist you.
Sorry. Any questions? Anybody? We are in a safe environment. You can ask anything you wanted to ask.
For this one, I'm not sure if Catherine has such kind of data. I wanted to know before and after using these flexi benefits in terms of staff engagement. What sort of tools or matrix that you have used to measure the staff engagement? And also, I think overall I wanted to get the feedback of the staff before and after.
Okay, so because we implement really for a year, so basically I cannot, it's not the right time to get a really long-term evaluation on that. But in general, I think the program is well accepted by the talents. The point is first because most of us are IT talents, so basically they are really getting used to these online things, so they like to play around on it. So basically, it's really good for them. And secondly, I think to them it's a new thing to them. So apart from the really traditional, frankly speaking, some of the colleagues, so basically they don't know what is being covered for their medical scheme. But where else they know where to pick and choose some various programs. Where is the Jaxo here and the portal? So basically they would talk about that. And I think I can feel that they are more interested on this kind of services rather than a very traditional outpatient thing, hospitalization. They got no idea on that. At least this is general my feeling. And they really will use it rather than, let's say, for going to see a doctor. Sometimes they won't really utilize that. But of course they will for sure, they will not, every year I have to consume my entitlements or my coins in this area. So I think this is the the benefit that I can observe.
Alex, anything you want to add maybe from what you've seen from other clients?
Yeah, so far the utilization usually at 80% or above. So I think it's a good sign. It's increasing, and then you can see used to be a lot of pay and claims. I would say 50-50, but now it's like totally dropped down to 30%. Pay and claim, obviously you give them more flexibility. You can go to any health check services you like, but then with the marketplace in place, actually the price actually is much cheaper than walk-in. That's one good thing, and then you don't have to wait for the reimbursement. So people are more willing to just buy it and redeem it on the marketplace. So the whole journey, the convenience, actually that's what the value we provide to the user. Yeah, and also of course we charge only by utilization. So we don't. I think our business model is very different from insurance. Like it's not like a risk model. Like so, any unused it, we not charge to the employer. So I think that's one of the beauty when you compare with the like checkup, dental. If you package into a premium, obviously if there's unused that, there's no refund, right? So for us, it's I think the model is a little bit different.
Anything you want to add, Julia?
Just to add on, I think, and the beauty of it is in the insurance model, pretty much insurance company would ask you like in terms of the enrollment, if you want to cover the spouse, so you have to follow the employee. But in this kind of model, you can give you the flexibility so that you can choose what you want to cover. It can be a spouse, your child, or which option is out there. So that gives you a little bit more flexibility as well and control for your employee out there.
Any other
On Gen Z, I guess what are you, I find it being slow, I'm sure everyone in this room does, but what are you seeing them asking for from a benefits perspective? You said no dental, which was interesting, but what are you seeing sort of getting asked for? I thought the financial bonus was really interesting because I know like Gen Z are much more even like financially literate than even millennials. So what are you guys seeing being asked for from this sort of new incoming generation in the workforce?
For Gen Z, I think they're more active. Definitely, what we see is like for example DNA testing, something more trendy, like that may not be they give them more like for example DNA, they give them more or what is my DNA can tell me like what kind of like maybe I have a cancer DNA in my body. So that's give them more insight, like understanding their body more, and what else? Like stress management, like I said. I think these kind of like massage guns, massages. I think these are some of the because like they want to be like they love travel as well, right? So they want to do massage, right, in Thailand, but now they can't travel, so they prefer to find a really decent place to do some more relaxation massages.
And maybe I can just share from a global perspective. I think When I was at Visa, we had a lot of young people, so you really find that they are very interested in physiotherapy, protein, kind of vitamin supplements. I think the other trend that we are seeing that Alex already mentioned too is a lot more young people are so used to testing because of COVID. So they want to do more preventative health. So they want to see more testing. And this could be DNA testing, but it could also be, particularly if you look at women's health, like hormonal testing, fertility testing. And there are so many more online tests that you can do now, like HPV tests, that this is becoming a common ground now for particular young people. That I think, this is a great way to use like almost like a marketplace to offer these kind of benefits. Any other questions?
Okay, we're going to. And if there is no further live questions, let's go ahead and cover the questions we have received from our registrants earlier. Yes. The question is, any recommendations on key questions to be included in a well-being or wellness survey to employees to understand their needs and satisfaction with current offerings? Yes.
Anybody, any thoughts on that?
Okay, so firstly, I think the most important is we know the demographics. You know what are the age group. You know what are the diversity of your group. So basically, this is one of the things. The second thing is, I guess we need to know their usage. You know what kind of benefit they use the most. You know how often. And secondly is what are the choices. I think that is important. Some data that you need to collect for a well-being survey.
I think also asking questions that may be a little bit more difficult to ask, particularly when we talk about mental health and well-being. Questions like, do you feel comfortable about talking to your manager about your mental health and well-being? Surveys have shown that particularly a lot of women feel uncomfortable talking about their health issues in the workplace because they feel it will have repercussions on their career perspectives. And people feel that talking about your mental health in the workplace would also potentially impact your promotion or your career opportunities because your employer might feel that you are weaker. So I think actually normalizing conversations about health and well-being and being a little bit more open and upfront about the challenges that your employees might face and addressing these in a survey would be good to do as well going forward.
So I want to add one more thing. Maybe it's good to compare I think the questions should also answered by the HR, and then you compare with the employees, because usually you can see a big gap, like in terms of the well-being. People may think, oh, I need more outpatient budget, but in fact, it's not. Maybe there's some kind of like variance you need to address. Yeah.
Okay, and we got one more question, which is, what data should be collected to justify the need for spending on wellness or well-being on specific initiatives for employees and justify the effectiveness and return on investment of well-being offerings provided to employees?
Juliet, do you want to answer that one?
Well, it depends on your maturity of your program. So I work with a lot of employers. So I came across one employer that has about like 30 years of data. They really track, like the stock market, because they have risk manager managing their program globally. Now, for them to reach that kind of maturity, obviously they can link back. So what they do is very interesting. So they have like silver, gold, platinum. So silver is like a full-fledged of well-being stuff that you need to put in, and then you step up to gold with more than what is silver and then platinum, and then link it back into their insurance program risk. And if you put platinum, and it's proven because they have 30 years of data, so they're able to link it back to say that, okay, your premium will be discounted like by X%. So if you go on gold, everybody do 100% utilization, then your premium will be X, but what we did that was very simple. So I just give you a very simple, there's much more context, but I just give you a very simple one. So for example, they said I introduced vaccine, right? So when they say introduce vaccine, so everybody has vaccine. Then they track how many people actually have URI after the vaccine shot. So they look at the claim statistic to see if each person, the URI, so-called incident rate has decreased. So they kind of link it back to 30 years of data. So because of that, they're able to so-called link to the ROI. Right? So, but to do that, not everybody is so sophisticated out there. I would like to say, simple one, yes. So for example, I also work with some financial institution. They tend to have a lot of high cancer cases and heart attack. So there's one gap that we also realize that some of the medical checkup there are still cancer marker. So by introduce that cancer marker, so that actually prevent and track that earlier. So that helps in terms of the claim management. So can you say that that's linked to the RI? Maybe yes, maybe not. It all depends how you actually want to present it to me. But I would like to say it's more on the employee satisfaction, the engagement, as well as your branding. Because I think these are the three things that we can actually put on the table to your management to say that how actually it brings in value by putting in the well-being inside. But in terms of dollar and cents, it's difficult to quantify out there. It's still very tricky unless as a you're like a client of mine that they have 30 years to be able to link it every possibility out there. They are able to project what's the utilization in the next year out there.
Anybody want to add anything?
Maybe like what Ben just mentioned, net promoter score, like how eager, how was intention your employee would promote your company, especially on the well-being. I think that's another way to measure it. Yeah, and you can compare with the previous year and this year, and then you can see the difference.
Great answer.